Good afternoon. I'm Casey O'Brien. This is Dr. Dan Manson. We're here to talk about the National Cyber League. So what we're going to do in the next 40 minutes is talk about the current cyber exercise landscape, what the National Cyber League is, what is it we hope to accomplish, what's our mission, how will we accomplish that mission, why do we need a National Cyber League, how is it different from other cyber exercises, and then a pilot that we're going to do. So we'll certainly leave time at the end to answer any questions. This is absolutely a discussion, so feel free at any point to shout out, give any questions, comments. We're going to tag team. I'm going to take about the first 8 or 9 slides, and then I'll hand it over to Dan. So let's start off just looking at the current cyber exercise landscape. There are a lot of cyber exercises. You can organize them in a lot of different ways. You can look at the cyber exercises that are part of conferences. So that would include exercises like one of the early ones, which is the Capture the Flag exercise at DEF CON, which is like 19th or 20th year. If you're not familiar with DEF CON, this is the premier hacker convention in Las Vegas the first weekend of August. There are various other types of cyber exercises, both offensive, defense-related, forensics-related, at many other conferences. So EC Council has the Hacker Halted conference in Miami, and they had a Cyber Olympics event a couple months ago, and there are various exercises within the conference space. In the high school space, you have one of the premier, the Cyber Patriot, which is SAIC, or Scientific Applications International Corporation, right? Huge government subcontractor. Cyber Patriot is defense only, so what I call an inherit and defend competition. It's primarily virtual. It's focusing on foundational cybersecurity hardening skills, originally geared towards junior Air Force ROTC students, but now open to high school students across the country, and I think they have some 800 high schools competing in that this year alone. There's also the U.S. Cyber Challenge that's under the auspices of the SANS Institute and the Center for Internet Security, really primarily looking at identifying that the top 2 or 3% of what the SANS folks like to call cyber warriors, the best of the best in cybersecurity at the high school space. And they run a 5-day camp in 6 states. Dan runs the one in California. I run the one in Maryland. There's any number of exercises in the collegiate space. So you have the Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition is really the big one in that space, and the Cyber Patriot to some degree is an offshoot of the Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. Again, that's inherit and defend. If you're familiar with red team, blue team exercises, red team offensive hackers, professionals trying to break into blue team student systems while the students keep the systems up, providing business functionality. There are any number of other exercises in the collegiate space. The Department of Defense has a Cyber Crime Center, and they have a digital forensics challenge that they run for high schools, college, both 2 and 4 year, and then a practitioner level. And so that just gives you a sampling of just, maybe 6, 7, 8 exercises that are tied to conferences, high schools, the collegiate space, or any number of exercises geared towards practitioners. So there's lots of them. And mainly, many of these exercises are one-off playoff systems. So Dan and I are intimately familiar with the Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. I run the Mid-Atlantic Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. I've been involved with that since 2004. Dan runs the Western Regional out of Cal Poly Pomona outside LA. And it's a playoff system. You have qualifying rounds. You have 10 regions nationally that have some kind of a qualifying round, a combination of virtual students in classrooms accessing systems on the internet somewhere, trying to keep those systems up and running, protecting them from hackers, and completing various tasks. And then they qualify for maybe a face-to-face region finals. The 10 regional winners go on to an all-expenses-paid championship at the University of Texas, San Antonio each April. So it's really basically a playoff system. For the most part, you capture the flag at the DEF CON is a playoff system. You qualify. Many of these are playoff systems. Many of them tend to be aiming exercises first, and then if students learn something or people learn something, oh, well, that's a byproduct, a benefit of competing. But the nature is generally gaining exercise first. We declare a winner, however that winner is declared. Difficult to measure participants' performance skills, primarily because they're team-based exercise. So how do I actually know at the end of the day, who in the room that's competing can do the best job of auditing or implementing some policy or setting up a public key infrastructure or an encryption environment for an organization? Who's the best web application penetration test? It's very difficult in team environments to measure individual skills and performance. It's expensive. It's expensive, especially to run the face-to-face competitions, a la the Collegiate Cyber Defense competition. In the Mid-Atlantic, we had 22 schools compete last year, and having run these for a number of years, 8 or 9 schools in a room at one time is about the upper limit to the number of teams you can have competing in one of these competitions, primarily because it's difficult to get gear. If you have 8 students on a team and you want to have a PC for everybody, that's 64 PCs, and then you need the power cables, you need a way to trade the infrastructure, so you're setting up identical networks connected into a network core of some sort, right? So it's a fairly difficult undertaking to actually run these events, the face-to-face, and as a result of being expensive, and also they don't scale well. It's hard to, you can only have 64 students. So what do I do about all the other students that want to compete, right? So for example, University of Maryland College Park 3 years ago wanted to get involved in the Mid-Atlantic Collegiate Cyber Defense competition, and they had a club that they started, student-run club, and they had 25 students, and they invited me down, and I went and talked to them, and they competed. Fast forward 3 years, they have close to 500. And in a face-to-face, say, Mid-Atlantic Regional Collegiate Cyber Defense competition finals, we have 8 teams of 8 students. So you have 64 of the 500 that can compete, right? So clearly, that's not a model that scales well. Right? We should have some kind of model where if all 500 want to compete, they can. So that just gives you a sense of the current cyber exercise landscape. So the National Cyber League was founded in May 2011. The images, logos down here represent the major founders. You'll notice MPIC right here, James Jones, Dan Manson represents CyberWatch West. I'm the director of CyberWatch West, and CASIA, the Center for System Security Information Assurance, or NSF ATE centers focused on cybersecurity education. So CyberWatch is in Maryland, CASIA is in Palos Hills, Illinois, outside Chicago. CyberWatch West is at Mount San Antonio College, LA area. So, and then we have NDG, we have Rich Weeks in the back room, that was basically the vendor perspective. And the whole goal was to think about how we could design a regular season, a regular training ground around cyber exercises, right? Because really, quite frankly, what's missing is that regular season. There are a lot of one-off playoff systems, and what happens is at the end of March, beginning of April, mid-April, you have thousands of students that have competed in various exercises at various collegiate levels that are extremely fired up. They've gotten bitten by the cyber exercise bug, and they want more. And there is no more. The season's over, right? And so the NCL was founded with the premise that we would provide a regular season initially for college students, but eventually for elementary, all grade levels up to the practitioner. So you could take any sport metaphor you want. Baseball's a good one. Little league up to professional. where professional has farm systems, right, and there's T-ball, and there's variants within, you know, the elementary school and Little League and Pop Warner and Babe Ruth, right, and develop a sport, if you will, around cyber exercises where you have cyber jocks, all right? And the whole point of this regular season is to provide safe, challenging environments for individuals and teams to be able to hone and practice their cybersecurity skills. So that's the goal of the National Cyber League. It does include both individual and team exercises, and it does and will include both virtual and face-to-face competitions. And Dan will talk about in subsequent slides a pilot that we're going to start in April, and the types of exercises that we're looking to pilot, and what we're hoping to get out of this National Cyber League as a result of this pilot. So our mission is to create the most educational, challenging, and entertaining cyber competition possible. So how are we going to do this? We're going to do this in a bunch of different ways. One is we want an inclusive individual team competitive sport experience. So with the National Cyber League, the 500 students that are part of the University of Maryland College Park's Cyber Club can now all compete. Now, maybe not all 500 could compete in the team portion, but certainly all 500 could compete in the individual portion of the NCL, which would be akin to your conditioning. You're shooting free throws in your driveway, right, or running sprints. It's the stuff you do by yourself to hone your craft, to get better, so when you go and to, you know, go play basketball with the team or tennis or whatever it is, you're prepared. And that's the individual nature. And we are employing virtual stadiums that are systems integrated solutions. We have, they're nothing really more than virtual lab solutions. We have one at the Community College of Baltimore County where I am. We actually have 5 in the East Coast that are part of the CyberWatch Consortium. We have CASIA and the Midwest, who's really spearheaded along with NDG, this systems integrated solution, and then Dan is standing up to virtual stadiums in California. And that provides the infrastructure for individuals to go in and practice cybersecurity skills. It allows us to do interesting things like measure students where they currently are, and then provide an exercise at the level they're currently at, and then measure their performance, which is really a critical piece for us as educators, to be able to actually start measuring performance. Can our students actually do what they purport they can do? And then continue that learning feedback mechanism, right, ongoing. And that allows us to do interesting things like create player statistics. Since it's a league, right, we start doing player tracking. And we can start doing things like identifying students with skill sets around specific skills that are dictated by things like professional cert vendors and or external standards. So a big one in our space is the National Institute of Standards and Technologies is developing a national the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, the NIST framework. And what it is simply is just job roles that NIST, primarily led by, well, that DHS and various 29 other government entities have outlined. Job roles within cybersecurity education, which currently don't exist. Right? I can't go to a high school counselor and tell them how to counsel high school students to go into cybersecurity because there aren't really clearly defined job roles. And so this NIST framework is outlining that framework, if you will, those job roles. And we can take those job roles, which have specific knowledge, skills, and abilities, things you should know and be able to do and then apply in some kind of environment, and design exercises around that. And then start tracking this and handicapping people against other people, and then link that with employers' needs, which in cybersecurity, if you're not aware, there's a huge inverted supply-demand problem. In the United States, there is a huge demand for qualified cybersecurity professionals, on the order of some 60,000 needed qualified professionals, depending on who you talk to, and a very little supply. So here's a perfect mechanism to track individuals and what they can actually do, and then match those skills as demonstrated in this virtual stadium environment with the needs of employers. Right, so, and then certainly we'll employ various team competitions as well. We also want it to be fun. All right, but we want students to be able to demonstrate what they know. We want to be able to promote proficiency with specific cyber skills. We want to prepare teams for other exercises. I mentioned 10 different cyber exercises in the first slide. We see our league as being that training ground for other exercises. So if you consider the playoffs kind of starting in March, April, we would be August through March, and then playoffs in April up into the summer for some of the other, like U.S. Cyber Challenge, and then starting up again in August. So we would be the training ground for other exercises. A way to continually give folks, allow folks to acquire skills that are tied to curriculum, industry needs, professional service. Enrich the classroom learning experience. Promote industry participation. Address this lack of qualified cybersecurity professionals nationally. In the Mid-Atlantic region, we're able to generate quite a bit of money in sponsorships alone because many of the large organizations, they primarily are in the defense information base, the Boeing, Lockheed, SAICs of the world. The main reason they pay my organization to sponsor the Mid-Atlantic Collegiate Cyber Defense competition is because they see this as a pool of the best and brightest in the Mid-Atlantic region, right? These students are showing a different kind of initiative just by participating in these competitions, and it's that initiative, right, that these students are doing this on their own, they're on a weekend, on a Friday and Saturday, absolutely just getting crushed by professionals that do this stuff all the time, and they love it. So we want to hire these people, and we'll pay to get access to these people. So imagine being able to provide a league nationally that could tie skill sets to their needs. They certainly will pay for that. And it may be one of the solutions to help with this inverted supply-demand problem that exists in the U.S. We want to provide a mechanism by which schools and students can assess the effectiveness of their curriculum. It's really difficult to do. And it's hard to say, well, because the University of Maryland College Park won our competition last year, that they have the best curriculum. In fact, the University of Maryland, the Terrapins don't have a cybersecurity education curriculum. This is a traditional computer science, engineering, research-based institution who thinks cybersecurity is a fad, quote unquote. So, so that clearly doesn't mean because they won, they have the best curriculum. They have great students and they have great computer science and engineering programs and excellent world-renowned faculty, but the current ways in which competitions are run don't really provide a mechanism by which schools can say, wow, my students didn't do so hot in these areas of the cyber exercise. Do we want to supplement my curriculum or our curriculum with those portions? And you're actually starting to see that anecdotally. Schools kind of beefing up certain skill sets. One would be like firewall skill sets, for example. A firewall that's so passé, it's all cloud, but the problem is we still need people with those skill sets, right? And many of the schools, when they get in these competitions, have students with none of those skills, and it's really kind of a critical piece because the firewall connects into the core infrastructure. So if you kill that thing, makes for a long couple days for your team, right, to compete. So some of the schools have started supplementing the curriculum with firewall classes or firewall modules, as an example. Is this you, Dan? Yeah. Okay, sir. Here, let's hear you guys take this.
Great. Thank you, Casey. So I became involved with the CCDC Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition 2007. I went for my first one. It was the Midwest Regional CCDC that Cassia puts on. And I videotaped the students there, and I was asking them questions. How much do you learn during these competitions? And one of the students said to me, I learned more in these 3 days than I did in a year's worth of classes. So right there I thought, we're onto something. And what I have found is that because it is a team competition sport, it will unlock the passions of students more than any class they will take. The Cal Poly team spends several hours every Saturday for 6 months leading up to the competition, getting ready for the competition. So most of their preparation actually is outside the classroom on their own. They're self-motivated. So we know this competition works to develop the students, to get them to learn in a hands-on way. What we try to do in these competitions is simulate the real world. We have a rich team of security professionals that loves to be bad, and the students get a baptism by fire. But, as Casey said, it's one and done. Whether you're doing a state level, only one team moves on to the regional. You're doing a regional, only one team goes on to the national. The only way this scales is through virtualization. And that's why partners such as Rich Weeks and DG are so important, because we need to work with the right industry partners to develop the virtual stadiums. So we really appreciate the opportunity to have these partnerships. This is what we want to do. We do not want to use the NCL to make it hard for students to go up the learning curve. If you're sitting for an exam, the goal is to weed people out. The goal is to have, if you're going after certification, it's the students that can score the most, that score higher than 70 or 75 or 80, they get certification. That's not the goal of NCL. We want to increase the number of the capable. We want to take students at their level. If someone is new to this, that's okay. We're going to measure them at that level. We're going to use a handicap system, and we're going to show the improvements in skill sets no matter what level the students start on. If a student is at a low skill level and they're able to raise it, say, from a 2 to a 5, that means more than if a student is already at an 8 and only goes to a 9. So that's the reason that we want to do the handicap system through the exercises, through the competitions. Let me mention a story about the Cal Poly team. In 2009, Cal Poly team won the Western Regional. Went to the Nationals, finished fourth out of 8. When they came back, Boeing contacted us and said, we want to talk to your team, not who's the best student on your team, not who's the best top students on your team. We want to interview your team. So they did something I've never seen. They took the entire Cal Poly team, the 8 students, into a classroom, and we got to observe. They interviewed the team, and when they were done, they made an offer to the team to work together in cybersecurity in Boeing. They made a team offer, which is great, except how much did they really know? They knew the team was gelled as a team. They were hiring the team based on the way the team worked together, the shared skill set, but they didn't know the individual skill set. That's what we're after in NCL. We want to be able to measure at an individual level. We want player stats. We want to have what every good sport has. The ability to show how you perform your role on the team and to show the improvements that you have over the course of a season. So we're going to have competitions throughout the year. We're going to start off this spring with our pilot with 24 teams, a 6-week season. And we're going to incorporate a strong learning component. It's going to be more than just what the team does, the score of a team versus another team. We want to show how much individuals learn their roles through these events. We also want to play to media. 2010, we had the Western Regional, and we got lucky. We played to the media. We took the competition and we put it in one big room. And we had the teams in these large pods. We had the red team up on the stage, and they controlled a big screen where they could put whatever they want on the screen during the competition. We had Fox News come out, national Fox News come out. They were going to stay for 1 hour and do one segment. The segment worked so well, they stayed for the entire day and did 4 live national segments from our competition. We had a reporter from Business Week embedded into the red team that did a story on the competition. We think that this can be a visual sport. We have challenges because it's not thought of as a physical sport, but we're working on that. We're working on ways to make it visually appealing. There's a symposium I go through called CINET. Have any of you heard of Security Innovation Network? CINET. So Robert Rodriguez is behind CINET up in the Bay Area, Stanford Research Institute. He has yearly events. He has yearly events out at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., where he gets the top security entrepreneurs together to show off their products, gets the top speakers. We're talking to these companies about having their products in our competition, including their visualization products, because we want to show the sport of cybersecurity. When we have the NCL, our goal is to have live scoring, live play-by-play commentary, having this stream through the internet.
And then eventually a TV show.
I look at what's on TV. We actually videotape our competition this year. My goal is to have the World Series of Poker, a World Series of Poker version of our CCDC. Taking a 3 or 4 day event, condensing it in a half hour. It didn't really work out as well as we wanted to. We ended up more with a sports center approach. But given what goes on TV, we think we can build this into a visual sport.
Is that in other countries?
What? Cyber exercises?
Yeah, gaming and television, televised?
Yeah. So actually, nationalcyberleague.com is .org is a Brazilian, it's a Portuguese site, so we think it's a Brazilian group that's doing video gaming. So traditional console gaming, you know, like at bars, LAN parties, things like that. So that's an example.
Aren't other countries doing this for real?
Cyber exercises?
No. Cyber attacks.
We do it for real, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a game for their students. Like, no, if I go to Russia, they do it for real. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was a joke.
It's a marketable skill.
Now you get it.
So we want to have these events on a continual basis to give the students exposure. We want to map our competition to standards. So Casey mentioned the NIST initiative. They have different tracks. They have KSAs. They have competencies. They don't get down to the level that we want to be at, but it's a starting point. We want to get down to the point where we are measuring specific competency, specific behavioral objectives that will show that the students have hands-on skills in cybersecurity. We're also partnering with some other organizations. There's a National Board of Information Security Examiners that has developed performance-based measures for penetration testing, and they're interested in what we're doing. We're interested in the direction they're going in. We're looking for partners that are interested at measuring at the task level. So it's not going to be, well, can you answer a question? It's going to be, can you perform in a realistic environment? And to do that, we need to go virtual. We need to have virtual stadiums. CAPTIA has a virtual stadium that they've been using for years. CyberWatch East has one. We just set up our virtual stadiums. We've been having scrimmages with other schools. Throughout the fall, we had basically every other week, we had a virtual 6-hour competition with another school or with a few other schools. Head-to-head competitions or mini versions of CCDC. So we know that we can run a virtual competition. We know we can run a 6-hour competition. The goal is to scale. The goal is to have enough content, to have enough of a library put together, to have enough of a virtual infrastructure so that we can run these on a weekly basis and go from 24 teams this spring to several hundred teams in a couple of years. And we think it's going to be a lot of fun. Every time we've run our CCDC, every team, all the students that I talk to have said it's been a great experience. We don't get students who play and don't want to come back. No matter how they do, they want to come back and do this again. Because the hands-on learning is fun. The ability to try and defend against real security professionals Even though you feel like you've been torn to pieces, it is fun. They really like having the opportunity to have a real world environment to try and defend it. Or in the case of a capture the flag, to attack and defend it. So we've talked about some of the reasons why we're doing this. Here are some additional ones. We can benchmark skills. We can identify team deficiencies and inadequacies, but the only way we can do this is through a season. It's very difficult for a team to spend several months getting ready for a 3-day competition, and that's the only time they are competing. We have many versions of this on a weekly basis. Teams are going to get better. Even if teams are awful for the first 4 weeks of our 6-week season, there's a good chance by the time the 6 weeks are over, they're going to really feel that they've learned, they're going to really feel they've gone up a curve, and that they are much better than when they started. We're going to give them feedback. We're going to give them lots of feedback through the exercises, or we benchmark them, or we handicap them, and after each competition where we show how the team does, but also as the individuals. We're going to have box scores. We're going to do something that I haven't seen yet, and it's not easy to do, but it's really a goal of ours. We want to come up with the stats for the sport of cybersecurity. Every sport has tons of statistics. You look at football, you look at baseball, you look at basketball. One of the reasons people are so attracted to it is because there are so many ways you can measure. We expect a year from now we're going to have a fantasy league. We really believe that the time has come for this. We also are looking forward to partnering with industry. We have sponsors for our competition. One of our sponsors was Southern California Edison last year. So we had one of their top cybersecurity guys come out, and he looked at our environment. And what he said was, we want to do this in-house. So we think going forward, in fact, Casey's already done this. Casey ran a weekend competition a few months ago where he had 3 levels. He had high school, he had college, and he had pro. So we think as we develop the NCL, it's not only going to go down into K through 12, but we're going to have a pro-am NCL. We're going to have industries that have teams as well, because it just makes sense. The model for learning cybersecurity makes sense. They can get a reality check on their own employees. They can have a virtual simulator. The potential is there. And the industry partners that we have are talking to us about this. We were at the NIST conference back in September, and there is an individual from Cisco. He wanted us to have an environment for his employees to learn in a capture the flag environment. He was ready for us to give him that environment. He was ready to use it. And we did some follow-up conversations with him. He's looking at other solutions. But we know industry is looking for the same thing that we're trying to do in the NCL. So for our pilot, we're going to have 3 conferences. East, which Casey is going to be in charge of. Midwest, which Eric Spengler, David Durkee will be in charge of. And the West Coast one. So we're going to have colleges from the Bay Area. We're going to have colleges from Southern California. We're going to have, actually, the West Conference is the widest one. So we take into, in terms of our region, 4 CCDCs, 4 regions for the Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. The Western region, the Pacific Rim region, the new one, the Rocky Mountain region, and the at-large region. So we're going to be drawing teams from all of these areas. It's going to be hard just to limit ourselves to 8 teams, but this is a pilot. This is a way that we're going to try things out, so we're going to keep the number down. Starts April 20th, 6 weeks, 2 weeks of playoffs, and then the championship will be at the Colloquium, where the Centers of Academic Excellence Information Assurance meet every year. We're going to have a face-to-face championship. We expect to have good media coverage at the championship. We expect to have the buzz build up during the season. The reason for starting at April 20th is that the National Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition is held in early April. So we're the follow-on to the National CCDC season.
So the pilot this year is spring game.
Spring football. The 3 types of competitions we're looking at this year are the Capture the Flag, which is the one that's been around the longest, involves both offense and defense. The defensive only, which is the CCDC model, and a forensics competition, which is getting more and more attention. Casey mentioned the Cyber Patriot. There are over 1,000 high school teams this year in Cyber Patriot. And this year in Cyber Patriot, they're going to be adding a forensics component to the championship, which is held in Washington, D.C. So forensics is getting into the competitions at the high school level. Forensic competitions are very popular at the college level now, so we're going to be adding forensics. This is our contact information. We'd be happy to stay in touch with you and talk to you more about where we're going with this and having you become part of it. Rich.
Quick item, Dan. A lot of customers already have NetLab. There's a few of them here now. If they have a NetLab, can they standardize with you guys and stand up like virtual?
Definitely. We really anticipate in 18 months having 50 virtual stadiums. So if you're interested in being a virtual stadium, get in contact with me or Dan, and we will actually get you in contact with their specialties. They really run the operations piece. Organizationally, just if I can mention it quickly, Dan, we are in the throes of becoming a legal entity. So the National Cyber League, within 5 months time frame, will be a 501c3. We've got organizational structures where Dan, myself, and Eric Spengler are the co-founders, and we have 3 program committees, one around educational, the whole educational component to this, one is around operations. So I have an NGG appliance and I want to stand up a virtual stadium. We work with the ops group, and then we have the business group, and the program chair of that is James Jones. So you can also get involved in program committee work, helping to shape the NCL moving forward.
How many of you have not seen cyber defense competition? Would you like to see the Fox clip that's on the internet? I'll just take a minute. Kind of fun.
Ready on the volume. I don't know if it's going to be loud.
Oh, no, it's way more complicated than that. So to give you an example of the kind of environment that our usual actually there's no stopping me.
I definitely am going to kick out.
We're also going to have to look at how we're going to have commercials.
I'm the greatest star.
Project Runway All-Stars. Suits premiere tonight at 9 on Lifetime. Uncle Sam is looking for a few good geeks. The Department of Defense has a new program aimed at recruiting young cyber talent by letting them go at it in simulated cyber war games. At a housing line in Pomona, California, with more for us. So what kind of competition we talking about here, huh? Well, the cyber defense competition, John, a lot of companies are involved as well. You know, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry right now, cyber war, and it's actually talking to the defense. And I'll tell you, the number one threat to our country, to our interests, to our companies, to our government is really cyber war. It's right now, we're in Cal Pomona here in Southern California. It's simple. Well, you know over there behind me, these actually are the good or the bad guys. They're people who are already working in the industry. We'll talk about them in a moment. First of all, the good guys. They're the college students from a number of colleges here in Southern California. What they basically have is each one of these pods, they have their own network, and they have to defend themselves from attack. And there are a number of them here. There are probably about 7 pods all told. Now, the bad guys are the ones behind me. We talked about them a moment ago. They're the red team. We have a camera up there to show you. They're the hackers. They're the guys that are already working in the industry right now. They're trying to hack into the college students and basically break into the network. Now, as the college students defend themselves, they get points. That's how this competition goes. For example, right now, Joe here, he's trying to hack into the college students' networks. How's it going, Joe?
It's going pretty good. We have a break through. I think we're going to have some lunch too. We've got pop-up. And all those well, it's going to be one of the losers.
So one of the losers gets back to you really quick, John. Already Jeff Moss right there. So he popped up. I mean, that's pretty quick to get into one of their accounts. How important? I mean, Jeff works with the Department of Homeland Security on this. Jeff, how important are competitions like this? I mean, someone told me today that we need 60,000 professionals like this just in the next 3 years.
We need more students. We need more people who can feel what we can find.
And what's this do when you see Joe getting into what's this teach them?
Look, it's showing them this is how it applies. You're going to teach classes learning about this. We're not actually in the hands dirty. People actually do this stuff in a simulated environment. And I think it really inspires them. And we're starting to see more and more universities come up with programs such as this. Even the Navy's getting into the cyber scholarship program. You qualify, you can go to school for 4 years. It's getting real now.
Right, John, a lot of companies are involved as well. We've been talking about this story for a couple of years. This isn't just about people breaking into your email account. Companies stealing secrets, and in most cases, they don't want to be known. Not like President Obama, who got hacked into yesterday by the Frenchmen. Most of the hackers we're talking about want to get in, steal the secrets, get out without ever being detected, John.
Great career for some of these young computer geniuses.
And there's a lot of jobs out there, that's for sure.
You can check out more on our website. Go to foxnews.com/live.
The point I want to make on the 60,000 number is that I really believe that there are a lot of opportunities for those that have the right skills. But I don't know that we're doing a very good job today in general of turning out graduates with the right skills. The need for the specific hands-on skills and the need for those that develop these skills to continually keep up with changes in technology and adapt, those are the type of people we need to turn out. What I'm excited to be about working with the high schools is that we're partnering with LA Unified School District, second largest school district in the country. They have about 45 teams in Cyber Patriot this year. And in working with them, what they're doing now is they're not building their teams just on seniors. They're using 9th graders because they want this kids to keep playing in Cyber Patriot and keep getting better while they're going through high schools. So the more that we bring this down through the middle schools, the more we go down K through 12 and make this into a hands-on sport, the more we're going to get kids going into college that are ready for what we're doing with NCL and are going to have the right stuff. There's something else. When we presented at NIST, someone raised the question, well, how are you going to get more women into this type of competition? And in computer science over the years, the number of women has gone up and gone down. I think one way of getting more diversity is by going down into the middle schools. The more that we can make this a sport that you start at early on I think the more we're going to get a more diverse population playing this sport and going into the college with a passion for cybersecurity. Questions?
Yes,
I'm teaching the network security course,
Mm-hmm.
and we start from very basic stuff. Can we have implemented somewhere?
Yeah, there was one. So the answer, I think, is yes. There was one slide back here that was. Enriching the classroom learning experience is one of the ways we hope to accomplish our mission of making this fun and challenging and giving people skills. So I talked to a number of educators that actually are thinking about plugging into base classroom time or providing access to their students.
How did we get to that?
Well, so you don't get to anything right now until you're built. The virtual stadiums exist. What's being built right now is the actual, the exercises themselves around some areas with the content.
So you think that 6 months or a year?
One of the goals that we have in the coming years is to have a longer season that maps, say, to a semester. So if we have a 12-week season, we can actually have, for schools that play, you can have it be a lab component.
And then my caveat of ready to reach it to connect.
Yeah, we'll put up our contact. Where are you located?
I'm coming from Massachusetts.
Yeah, so East Coast would be, we've got 5 virtual stadiums. And to some degree, so CyberWatch right now and Cassie are partnering with NDG, and CyberWatch developed a 2-year model network security around about 5 years ago. And it's an applied associated science degree and certificate program. And we're actually building lab exercises right now that will be QA'd by NDG and then centrally distributed. So anybody who's got the NetLab appliance will get the CyberWatch Cassia information systems network security curriculum. The first class we're designing is Security Plus. So it's lab exercises. What we did is we looked at the current Security Plus performance-based exam objectives. There's 13 of them. And then we said, okay, what lab exercises exist in the nation that we can use to meet these objectives? We have 26 of that. But they're full-featured labs. If the performance-based objectives are, I want you to be able to use common network protocols, the lab exercise will have you get introduced to maybe 6 or 7 TCP/IP protocols.
How long does it take?
It depends. Some take 15, some take 60 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
And what we've done is, so anybody teach Cisco classes in here? So the Cisco model is, you have a common topology, 3 routers, 3 switches, around which then you can deliver 4 classes. And depending on the lab exercise that you want to complete, a specific variation of this topology gets spun up behind the scenes automatically, and the student gets a lab exercise, and they get a console, and they are on real gear. That's the model we're adopting at the community college space information system security. And the Security Plus class will be the first of that. So we've developed what we're calling the multi-purpose security pod, MSEC. And it's a 2-subnet environment, virtual machines only, separated by a firewall. And with that, you can teach upwards of 12 technical network security classes.
What's the expense to that?
Well, initially it'll be nothing through the pilot. Eventually we'll start looking at revenue generating models for this, and maybe you pay per student, you join CyberWatch, you get $100. It depends. That part's being worked out, but you should see by June in your NetLab appliances, basically the first version of a Security Plus set of labs, and the goal with Cassia and CyberWatch is to develop content for this Model 3 program. So, and that will be a supplement for your classes. It can be a way that students can prepare for these various exercises, et cetera, et cetera.
So Dan, a timeline, something that would be very helpful is this is great information, but a timeline on when you see the rollout would be more helpful to us to be able to figure out how to fold it into the lab.
Fair enough.
So like you mentioned June 2012. So
that's right.
Like for Security Plus, and then Dan mentioned some. So whenever you see those, because that's when we can do the regular season, because what you're doing is that's when you can adopt the regular season.
Right.
Yeah.
This spring is our pilot. This spring, we're going to be trying a lot of things out. But we expect over the next few years, it's going to get bigger and bigger.
But if you could just be more discreet than over the next few years,
Yeah.
it would be helpful.
Yeah, fair enough. So right now, the timeline goes through June. That's as far as we've gotten, quite frankly, because as you can imagine, there's pretty huge undertaking. And there's some real game-changing stuff in here. Just the whole idea of player tracking tied to external standards, and that's a big deal. And so some of the stuff we've seen has to be done right the first go around. So that's about as far as I can get you, is June 12th or whatever it is. But if you send me that information,
I think it's Salinas Valley.
Okay, so you're in my neck of the woods.
we should contact
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Good point, though. Other questions, comments? Yes, sir.
While you're waiting for that rollout and changing NetLab, something you can use this semester, especially for your Security Plus program, is the Cybersecurity program that's free from
Cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity
And
from the Moderate Enabled Postgraduate Center. That's CYBERCEIGE. Just Google that up and email them. They'll send you the password to install that. Just run that locally. It's free, scenario-based security training that they develop down there to teach security on the Security Plus, close to CCNA security level at the top end of those scenarios.
The gaming environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Questions, comments? I think
For time.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.